Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive straight into the incredibly fascinating psychology of why we judge books by their covers and exactly when we absolutely shouldn't. I mean, we've all grown up hearing that classic advice, right? Don't judge by appearances. And yeah, it sounds incredibly righteous. But here's the reality we're pulling from our sources today. In the real world, there is a massive amount of absolutely crucial information that we can only get from how someone looks. So today, we're going to decode this hidden language of appearances. We'll look at how our clothes act as a psychological mirror reflecting our minds, and on the flip side, how they can become a heavy suit of armor to hide who we really are. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're hitting the first impression dilemma, survival and gut instincts, fashion as a psychological mirror, what happens when appearances deceive us, and finally, balancing our instincts with an open mind.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the first impression dilemma. Okay, so we've all been told not to judge by appearances. But let's test that theory right out of the gate with a little thought experiment. Picture this. You're dropping your kid off at kindergarten, and the teacher assigned to take care of them, well, they're completely covered in tattoos from head to toe, with piercings all over their face. Now, be honest with yourself for a second. Would you feel totally calm? Honestly, most of us wouldn't. We'd feel a split second of hesitation, maybe even a wave of anxiety. Now, society might jump to label that hesitation as pure prejudice. But today, we're going to look at why that hesitation isn't necessarily a bad thing, and why taking "don't judge by appearances" too literally might actually force you to deny a very real, very protective part of human nature. And this brilliantly illustrates the core dilemma we face every single day. As our source material points out, there is a massive difference between completely discarding visual information and just choosing not to be swayed by it. Look, ignoring visual data entirely can literally put us in danger. A first impression is like the gateway to understanding someone. Shut your eyes to that gateway and you miss out on vital clues. But on the flip side, if you over-rely on it, you become completely blind to the truth beneath the surface. It's a super delicate tightrope walk, right?
Moving right along to Section 2, survival and gut instincts.
So why on earth do we judge so quickly? Well, that hesitation you felt about the tattoo teacher earlier, that isn't just some modern social bias. It's actually an ancient survival mechanism. Throughout human evolution, we absolutely had to develop the ability to read potential threats instantly, just to survive. And guess what? That instinct is still hardwired into us right now. I mean, have you ever had a conversation with someone where everything they said was perfectly normal, but you walked away feeling physically drained? Our source notes that this energy drain is an intuitive sign. Sometimes words just aren't enough to reveal someone's true nature, but our gut instinct, that lingering physical intuition, picks up on the danger that our conscious mind completely misses. The absolute crucial point here is that trusting someone just because they sound logical or friendly can be a total trap. Scammers and manipulators, they're often absolute experts at lowering our defenses. They present this incredibly polished, friendly first impression. But if you only listen to the perfectly logical words they're saying and totally ignore that tiny nagging feeling of discomfort in your gut, you're making yourself incredibly vulnerable. Protecting your mind and honestly your life sometimes means standing your ground when you feel that unspoken friction, even if the person looks and sounds completely perfect on the surface.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, fashion as a psychological mirror. So, if our instincts are constantly scanning for these hidden clues, what exactly are our everyday clothing choices telling the world about our mental state? It is super fascinating how fashion acts as a psychological mirror. Our source details how specific styles can actually reflect our deepest internal values. For example, wearing heavily accessorized outfits or sagging pants, that often points to an internal rejection of rules and discipline. Or take someone showing a lot of skin, like wearing midriff-bearing tops. They might actually be expressing a deep, unfulfilled hunger for affection and attention, essentially using physical visibility to fill an emotional void. On the flip side, someone wearing a crisp blazer and rimless glasses is usually projecting an internal desire for order, structure, and discipline. We are literally wearing our values on our sleeves.
But here is the really fascinating nuance you've got to grasp. Human psychology is incredibly diverse in how it expresses the exact same need. Take a disciplined, high-achieving top student and compare them to someone wearing highly revealing, attention-grabbing clothes. On the surface, they look like complete polar opposites, right? Yet, our source highlights that they might actually share the exact same underlying psychological hunger for affection. One is just trying to win that affection through perfect grades and societal approval, while the other is trying to win it through physical attention. The core loneliness is exactly the same. The mirror just reflects it differently. Mind-blowing, right?
Which brings us to section 4, when appearances deceive. Okay, so we know clothes can act as a mirror, but what happens when that mirror is intentionally distorted? What happens when clothing becomes armor? We've got to constantly contrast these archetypes because the mirror of appearance can be terribly flawed. Someone with a terrifying Yakuza-style look might just be using that intimidating vibe as a heavy armor to protect a deeply fragile, gentle heart. They're basically so afraid of getting hurt that they try to scare the whole world away first. Conversely, and far more dangerously, a person with a remarkably soft, gentle appearance might be hiding predatory intentions. Think of a person with a friendly smile who secretly views kids as targets. The softness of the exterior absolutely does not guarantee the safety of the interior.
Just take a look at what we can call the Conor McGregor exception. The guy frequently wears incredibly sharp, tailored suits. And as we established earlier, a suit usually signifies order, discipline, and playing by the rules. But as we see with McGregor, his behavior is famously wild, highly aggressive, and totally unpredictable. It perfectly illustrates how the uniform of order can sometimes just be a superficial shell slapped right over a highly aggressive personality. It proves without a doubt that we cannot blindly trust the quote-unquote rules of fashion. These are the vital exceptions you've got to remember when analyzing human behavior. The outer shell can sometimes be the complete and total opposite of the inner reality. You might meet someone who looks like a total street thug, only to discover they hold a PhD. You might see someone dressed in highly provocative, sexualized fashion, only to learn it's just a desperate mask hiding crippling social anxiety. Or you might meet that perfectly articulate speaker we talked about earlier, who literally leaves your soul feeling completely drained. You have to look deeper, because humanity is just full of these brilliant, confusing contradictions.
And finally, section 5, balancing instinct and openness. So, how do we actually navigate a world where appearances matter immensely, but can also completely lie to us? What you should really take away from this explainer is a dual approach to reading people. Read the tendencies, but always, always accept the exceptions. You've got to trust your gut instincts in your initial visual reads as a baseline for your own safety. Honestly, do not ignore the information right in front of your eyes. But at the exact same time, you have to maintain the flexibility to realize that the person standing right in front of you might be the exception to the rule. True wisdom is holding both of these truths in your mind at the same time, using visual clues to guide you while leaving plenty of room for the human element to surprise you.
Navigating human connections is this really delicate, everyday balance of ancient survival instincts and modern empathy. It requires us to constantly question our own perceptions. So I want to leave you with this thought to carry into your day. The very next time you meet a stranger, take a step back and ask yourself, are you seeing a true reflection of their soul in a mirror? Or are you just looking at the heavy armor they put on to face the world? Who are we really seeing when we look at a stranger? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the fascinating psychology of first impressions. Keep your eyes open and always trust your gut.